Yesterday we practiced Guru Yoga and prayed to Maranatha, Guru of Jesus. And just to remind everybody, I've mentioned of course, one can use the name as a mantra, name of a master as a mantra, as a tool of inviting the master. But I've also mentioned the mantras. Om Amrita Maranathaye Namaha. And today we will practice with Isha, with Jesus. So Om Amrita Ishanathaye Namaha. But so just two different ways, like a request for blessings, prayer or mantra. There's actually a third way, which is visualizing their images, which makes the same thing happen. I don't emphasize visualization of a prayer and mantra in my teachings simply because myself, I'm not a very visual person. So and I think that use of voice, well, it's silly to say that because I often pray in a quiet voice, but chanting mantras aloud, it's a very physical, very visceral, you can easily feel it. But anyway, my point is that one can use any of the three ways: prayer, mantra, visualization, and they all do the trick, which is that you will feel the master coming to you and you can feel their energy, their purity, their blessings. And then whatever technique you used to have that experience is no longer important. So no need to keep praying, no need to keep saying mantra, no need to keep visualizing, but just take it all in without a single drop going to waste of their blessings. So let's continue with Guru Yoga of Ishanath, Jesus Christ. And first let's establish basics: aligning body, posture, shedding extra baggage, extra tensions, needless tensions. So always taking a moment for the alignment of the body, relaxation of the body, being aware of the body, as well as bodhicitta, before continuing with the main course, with the main practice. You can let tensions go, like letting pigeons out of cage. All of them at once, as if getting released to freedom. Everywhere from the body, tensions melting away, flying away, dropping away. So one thing, so we are not kind of shooing them away or pushing them away. And if we have some whatever, we might be fearful or anxious or sad or feel some kind of emotions due to whatever happened, don't push any of that away. Don't shoo it away. So you're allowing your whole being, the microcosm of your body and mind, to relax and to release, but not forcing it. Never be bothered about the end goal, which you might reason is being fully relaxed, but always working with whatever we are experiencing and accepting that we might be depressed, anxious, fearful, sad, or feel in whatever way about ourselves, about things in our life. So don't try to push that away, but don't hold on to it either. Just like we're not holding on to, you know, especially when we are active, doing things, um, we subconsciously accumulate tensions into our body. And that's why when we sit down and relax, there is material to relax, to let go. But in that case, it is easy to understand that we are not holding on to those tensions or emotional states, whatever. Not pushing away, not holding on to either. Just allowing things to be, and at the same time allowing the body and mind and subtle bodies to open up. And when we do relax in this way, in common terms, what increases is the sense of internal space. What increases, what we discover, is this open internal space, as if sky. We become aware that there is a sky in the mind, internally, energetically, and that whatever we have going on in the body or in the mind, in energy, in emotions, happens, appears, and disappears in that space. I'm purposefully using common terms, not being specific or exact. Buddha Dharma goes into utmost detail of such things, but I'm purposefully using common terms so that the teachings of this session can be easily understood by anyone who watches this recording. So the internal sky opens up, and this is very helpful because not only we perceive if there are pains or illnesses in our body that occupies our mind, occupies our attention, or if we have heartache, if we have some emotional problems, tumult from relationships or whatever, from memories, whatever it is helpful to have that open internal space, inner skies open, because it offers context, like a background for that personal stuff in the body mind to happen. If we don't have that background, then we only have that our stuff, our pains, confusions, delusions, traumas, whatever. And when working with our stuff, looking into what makes us hurt, what causes us pain and suffering, we need the support of that internal space, inner sky, to be able to do that, to be able to look into our habits, patterns, negativities, confusions effectively in a way that we are able to see through them rather than be re-triggered and consumed by these negativities, confusions, traumas, and what have you. So here I have, in very simple terms, commonsensical terms, explained the two modes that we use in the two-part formula, which is a specific technique for generating first awakening experience. But we use those two modes both when working with nadi purification or when working with bhumi openings and bhumi perfections. We use both two modes. And same thing with meridians. So when working with meridians, when seeking to uncover the original body of light body, we easily, when we are working with traumatic habit patterns, negativities that are stuck in the body, stuck in the meridians, cells, atoms of the body, we easily get consumed and identified with negativities, smallness, tightness. So whether when working with nadis, bhumis, or meridians, whether we are working with either path of wisdom and clarity, as it is called in Amrita Mandala, or path of healing and light, we need the support of that internal sky. And just to be exact, if we think of the internal sky, we can perceive it in two different ways. One is three-dimensional space, that we sense that it's three-dimensional. And the other one is zero-dimensional. Zero-dimensional perception is perceiving the natural state, God, consciousness, true self, true nature. And meditation of that zero-dimensional space in Buddhism is called non-meditation. While the three-dimensional perception is called shamatha meditation. All mindfulness practices, vast majority of meditation techniques makes use of three-dimensional space rather than zero-dimensional. But this is just a technical point, technical detail that one comes to understand when going through the bhumi, nadi purification, and so opening up to 11th bhumi. People do understand that it's actually the natural state is zero-dimensional rather than three-dimensional. But it's a stubborn confusion and common confusion among traditions and teachers that they mistake. They speak of the natural state but are actually cultivating and giving instructions about three-dimensional space. It might seem like a small mistake, but vast difference between 3D and 0D, or the basic state, and then merely states of mental quietude, mental focus, concentration. Remember to keep your eyes relaxed so that the muscles, the small muscles in the eyes, are not um, becoming active all the time, because when that happens, it becomes more difficult to perceive the internal space, becomes more difficult to recognize basic awareness, because the movement of the eyes is attached to the seeking mode, seeking from outside, seeking spiritually. But when the eyes are relaxed, finding happens. It's much easier to find basic awareness, God consciousness, awakened nature, especially in the beginning stages of the practice. So relax eyes, relax mouth and jaws, shoulders, chest, relax belly. When chest relaxes and belly relaxes, breathing begins to move in the gut, in the belly, in the lower sides, in the lower back, rather than moves in the midsection or in the chest. This is very important, relaxing the shoulder line, relaxing chest and breathing with the belly. Well, because of that subconscious holding. And these are very important in the beginning of the path. They lose significance when we advance on the path, because the basic state is and can be recognized. One can be established in the basic state, natural state, whether the body is relaxed or completely tense. So in an advanced stage, it doesn't matter what the condition of the body is, or if one is moving the eyes or not. So over time, at some point, these factors lose significance, but in the beginning, we need the help of such information and tools, because we don't know our own basic state yet. We don't have that familiarity yet. So that's why we need to work skillfully and smartly with our relative bodies, meaning physical body and subtle bodies, to start tasting the flavor of the basic state, to start feeling, and through feeling, knowing our own basic state. So tools are very important. It is a grave mistake to discard tools and techniques, practices, methods, stages, blessings, guru, help of the guru through guru yoga, mantras. It is a grave mistake to discard and deny the importance of all these practices and methods too soon. So when one one doesn't really, well, we have different, in Amrita Mandala, we have two different paths, kind of like two methods under one method, two different sets of practices for two different subtle bodies, like I explained on Friday evening. But one doesn't really graduate, cannot discard the practices of nadis and bhumis and rainbow body yoga, including the gurus and deities, before all the bhumis are perfected. And the same applies to the path of healing and light regarding meridians through Amrita Kriya Yoga, Amrita deities, Guru Yoga with Hindu gurus. You don't graduate that stuff, any of the deities or any of the gurus through Guru Yoga, until you become completely and fully enlightened yourself. But it is usually people who are quite beginners and don't have that much experience who are quick to discard timeless methods and practices. We aspire and we make efforts to realize and actualize our sameness with masters, spiritual masters, Mahasiddhas, to realize our sameness with completely pure nature of existence, God nature, God consciousness, Buddha nature, for the sake of all beings. May each one of us be blessed by our God-like nature, awakened nature, pure nature. May each one of us be blessed by the original love and kindness that is already in us. Already in us. For the sake of all sentient beings, may beings be liberated from the microcosm. Microcosmos is the word of our body and mind. Countless beings from nadis, countless beings from meridians, countless beings from atoms of the body, countless beings from cells of the body, thus covering the whole physical organism that is constructed by cells. May all beings from the microcosmos of our body-mind be liberated, be freed into the nature of reality. For the sake of all beings in macrocosmos, in endless worlds, realms, dimensions, inhabited by physical beings, non-physical beings, from hells to heavens, may all beings be free. May all beings be free. stay with it. Lie down for some time. All right, let's before taking, now that we've took some rest lying down and a 15-minute break, we still have some time before taking a longer meal break. So let's just do quiet sitting like we did yesterday, and then we will save Isha's Guru Yoga for the last session this weekend. Just like we were sitting last night, relaxed, silent, mindful, embodied, sitting. Relax your eyes and mouth so that you're not turning your eyes when being attentive of the body. So when the eyes stop, we stop aiming the beacon of attention to different places of the body. So we are not using like a beam of attention or beam of concentration that we aim from the head down to the body, but rather just let the I use the term beacon, so like a beacon in a lighthouse on ocean shore, beacon lighthouses. So rather, by relaxing the eyes, you are not turning the light of attention, light of awareness down into the body, but just let it remain at its place. Kind of like a beacon in a lighthouse, without any turning, without aiming to different directions, just letting it shine in its own place. And from this way of being aware, just feel the body. The same basic awareness is the easiest to recognize by stopping the eyes, stopping that seeking, stopping moving the light of attention through the eyes, through the ears, through other senses. It's easiest to recognize in head space, in the area of the head, especially on eye level of the eyes. But the same basic awareness is all over the body, because we have the pure aspect of both nadis and meridians, as well as cells, all over us, all over the body mind. So basic awareness, wakeful nature, God nature, God consciousness is already all over us. And through becoming aware of that, instead of chasing it with concentration or attention, we stop using that beam, that narrow beam of focus, narrow beam of concentration, and instead release that and discover consequently this basic awareness that there is this very basic fundamental awareness without doing anything in us, in our mind, in our psyche. There is this ability to cognize and know, not only know the knowing itself, but also know visual input, know or be aware sounds through ears, audio input, auditive input, and there is also knowing in through tactile sense, through touching. But what is common to all sensations is that there is this basic knowing at the basis of it. Basic knowing or basic awareness means the same thing. And this basic knowing, this pure presence, covers our whole being and is possible to recognize with the whole body. So we sit in this way. Yesterday we did the same exercise, but I gave very simple, like simplified instructions, like basic body mindfulness instructions. But if we look at this in more detail, it's like a similar but very different experience, very different meditation. And what happens here, I was briefly discussing the technical point about three-dimensional and zero-dimensional. So mindfulness meditation, or turning that light of the beacon down to the body, that is three-dimensional use of focus, or how it is called in Buddhist tradition, it's shamatha meditation. Three-dimensional. And of course, the body itself is three-dimensional structure. So it has height, width, and depth. It is three-dimensional. Just like the aura is, it's three-dimensional, though non-physical sphere or ball of energy. 3D. It has width, depth, and height. But when we are aware of the body, or are aware of the aura, are aware of ourselves from this basic awareness, instead of being three-dimensionally mindful about it, there happens a meeting of zero-dimensional and three-dimensional. There's a meeting between timeless and what is typically bound in time. There is meeting between what is a zero in zero space with what is in a three-dimensional space, relative space. There is meeting of absolute with relative. And that is the characteristic, technically explained, of the whole yogic meditative path that leads to enlightenment. Timeless releases that which is bound in time or space or in self. That which is not bound by situations, circumstances, and change releases that which is absolute, the Buddha, Buddha nature, God, releases the samsaric condition. Here, right now, through this simple sitting, through not moving the eyes, and in that way discovering this simple, very simple, not difficult, very simple being aware, knowing awareness, ability to just be aware, awareness being aware of itself, knowing itself, and then mingling that with our relative bodies. That's a complete path in these instructions. Complete instructions to liberation. when we sit and practice in this way, what is necessary for everyone to understand is that there should be a shift from the self-based samsaric state into liberated state. So you cannot uh, cultivate or recognize this basic state, this God consciousness, while at the same time being affected and um affected, confused about having self-based energies going around. So there needs to be like a shift first that activates the pure aspect of in the nadis, pure aspect in the meridians and the cells. So there's a strong shift, like shift of energy, shift in being, shift from self-based to selfless and pure. So if we just sit thinking, believing that we are applying the instructions and understanding them, yet if we sit in this murky, not so clear, doesn't feel pure, doesn't feel timeless, spaceless, selfless, then we didn't really get it at all. So there needs to be a shift, kind of like going from a room that has stuffy air, dirty air, into open air, an open space. And that in that open air, fresh air, and open space, there is intensity of energy. It is not like a sleepy, groggy, drowsy, distracted kind of energy that in stuffy room, self-based room, but it has this intensity to it. There is power, there is Shakti, spiritual power, there is active blessings in this part of ourselves. So this we need to be very clear about. People spend years and decades without ever realizing or admitting that they haven't practiced correctly. But this shift needs to be there, and it is always there if we apply the instructions, apply the view correctly. Very good. Lie down again.